Tonight, the new COVID vaccine hopes as the federal government ramps up the vaccination effort. The promising news on the AstraZeneca vaccine. Researchers saying it not only prevents illness, it may also reduce the spread. And the Biden administration announcing the first of 100 federal vaccination megasites, where and when they'll open. Plus, the struggle to vaccinate communities of color. And as highly contagious variants threaten a new surge. Stunning images inside a packed grocery store. Customers and employees not wearing masks. What the owner is saying. The fallen officer lying in honor at the Capitol. He died defending. President Biden and the First Lady paying their respects. And today, the moving tribute. The president's strongest comments yet on the impeachment of Donald Trump. Why he says the trial must move forward as Trump's legal team arrives at the Capitol. The House set to vote on disciplining the Republican Congresswoman who has spread conspiracy theories and appeared to endorse the killing of Democrats. The punishment she faces. Nearly a year into the pandemic, the shortages and everything from cars to frozen pizza. What to know before you shop. And the life-changing medical miracle.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening, everyone. Some welcome findings tonight that vaccinations are, in fact, putting us on the right track to get ahead of the coronavirus. The encouraging headline coming from vaccine maker AstraZeneca today, and its new study suggesting its vaccine not only protects from the virus, but reduces its ability to spread. And tonight, as the pace of mass vaccinations pick up across the country with a stronger emphasis on minority communities, we're getting a jarring look at how widely our first line of defense, mask wearing, is still being rejected in parts of this country. What our Sam Brock found in a Florida grocery store today in a moment. But let's begin with that promising vaccine news. Here's Miguel Almaguer.
Tonight, another shot in the arm in the battle against COVID. A new study from Oxford University showing AstraZeneca's vaccine not only protects people from getting sick, but may also prevent them from spreading the virus. Not yet peer-reviewed, the results are among the first to demonstrate a vaccine reducing transmission by 67%. It was also shown to be 76% effective at preventing disease after just one dose and could soon be authorized for use in the U.S.
You can have an impact both on infection and therefore on transmission.
It comes amid growing concern over new variants overtaking the U.S. This 35-year-old father of two in Alabama is one of the first known deaths from the UK mutant strain, which researchers believe is up to 40% more infectious.
If they do become dominant, we may need to upgrade the vaccine. That's exactly the direction we're going right now.
Today, the Biden administration announced a new federal-state partnership launching 2 mass vaccination sites in California, the first of 100 nationwide. It's aimed at closing the gap in vaccine access in underserved communities.
This is an equity-driven, community-based partnership.
In East Oakland, where they will vaccinate at the Coliseum, California's governor tells us the disparity in the nation's largest state is vast.
So you got to go where people are. We're in a zip code, we're in a socioeconomic community that is significantly underserved from poverty perspective, from a testing perspective.
Tonight, a race to vaccinate the most vulnerable in some of the country's hardest hit communities. Miguel Almaguer, NBC News, Oakland.
This is Ron Allen in the Bronx. In one of New York's neighborhoods hardest hit by COVID, in a small community center, Eddie Martin and wife Lydia finally got their first doses of COVID vaccine.
Not too bad, right?
No, it wasn't bad at all.
After a frustrating 4-week struggle to get an appointment anywhere in the city. Did you try to go online yourselves?
No. We don't know too much about the computer.
Did you try calling yourself?
No. We didn't know where. We had no information.
Eventually, their son got appointments at a new pop-up vaccination site, an effort to meet people in communities bearing the brunt of the pandemic where they are, with obstacles like lack of online access, transportation, and flexibility at work, keeping residents from getting the scarce shots. In New York City, white residents have received nearly half the doses, Black and Latino residents getting less than their percentage of the population. Nationally, just 5% of doses have gone to African Americans and slightly more to Latinos.
I hear a lot of people saying that the problem now is the same problems with the health system all the time.
Absolutely. The healthcare system
in communities where there's a greater representation of low-income persons are not what they should be.
Even at vaccine sites in underserved areas, reports of more outsiders there for appointments.
I think we need to keep trying and keep getting the system to work better for our communities, for sure.
At this center, in an area with high death and infection rates, fewer than 200 residents got vaccinated before the supply ran out. Ron Allen, NBC News, New York.
Now we want to take you inside the hunt for those new mutant strains we've been talking about at a lab where they're trying to prevent yet another surge before it's too late. Steve Patterson has that story.
This is the new front line in an ever-changing battle against COVID-19 and a growing list of more contagious variants.
This is the area where the specimens come in.
We were given rare access to Stanford's clinical virology lab, where scientists work 24 hours a day, testing, then sequencing thousands of COVID-positive samples.
This is an example of a real-time PCR instrument, and this is what we're using to identify the mutations that are associated with these variants.
Dr. Benjamin Pinsky leads a team of viral detectives who are deconstructing COVID's genetic code, a critical step to determining how fast the virus is mutating and raising the red flag on its ability to resist vaccines.
If you see them all pooled together, or many of them are occurring in the same community, we can infer that, oh, maybe there's a new variant.
The race to identify, then isolate variant-positive people is crucial, as the CDC predicts these mutations will be the predominant strain in the U.S. by spring.
We are a bit behind compared to other countries, but I think we can catch up rapidly.
A renewed effort to gain ground in a sprint for survival. Steve Patterson, NBC News, Palo Alto, California.
And what they are doing is so incredibly important. And with that growing threat and with more than 450,000 Americans lost to the virus, many still refuse to protect themselves and others by wearing masks. Sam Brock saw the problem firsthand in Florida.
Tonight, video that looks like it was taken pre-pandemic. The Oaks Farm seed-to-table market in Naples, Florida, captures the country's divide, with many customers and employees visibly not wearing masks. Despite experts' clear messaging that wearing masks can slow the spread of COVID-19.
The CDC makes recommendations based on data that they accumulate because it's a science-based organization.
When we first asked about the store's mask policy, we were directed to this sign stating the mask exemption guidelines. Those in our lovely government have ordered all persons entering indoor facilities to wear a mask. If you have a medical condition that prevents you from wearing a mask, you are exempt. We cannot legally ask you about your medical condition. Therefore, if we see you without a mask, we will assume you have a medical condition. Alfie Oaks is the store's owner, known for his conservative and often controversial viewpoints.
Is your position then about medical exemptions, or is it about the fact that you don't think masks work and that the virus is not a real thing?
I know that the masks don't work, and I know that the virus has not killed 400,000 people in this country. That's total hogwash.
Oaks, who organized getting a bus of people to Washington, D.C. on January 6th to support former President Trump, believes many of the deaths being attributed to COVID are due to other causes.
I'm not going to do it. I've never worn a mask in my life, and I never will.
Yesterday, more than 3,000 people died from the coronavirus in the United States. Oaks' store, a stark contrast to the hundreds of public stores in Florida equipped with plexiglass checkout counters, social distancing rules, even pharmacies administering vaccines. On social media, reaction to the video poured in swiftly. One person tweeting, "I can't stop watching this. My jaw is literally on my desk." Another said, "We should exempt them from the vaccine line then."
Sam, you stumbled upon this scene today while covering a different story. So what is the mask mandate there?
Lester, local governments can impose mask mandates. In fact, there is one in Naples, but the governor here has stripped their ability to fine people for not following the rules. Lester?
Sam Brock tonight. Thank you, Sam. And with the Senate impeachment trial of former President Trump set to begin 6 days from now, an emotional reminder of the attack on the Capitol, a tribute to the police officer killed in the riot. Here's Kristen Welker.
Oh, a fitting farewell to a fallen hero, Officer Brian Sicknick, lying in honor at the Capitol, the same building he died defending. Overnight, President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden paying their respects. More emotional tributes today.
Each day, When members enter the Capitol, this temple of democracy, we will remember his sacrifice.
With Democrats blaming former President Trump for inciting the attack, President Biden is making some of his most extensive comments yet about the impeachment trial, again endorsing it.
It has to move forward, otherwise it would come off as farcical.
Though acknowledging Mr. Trump will likely be acquitted.
It's probably not likely that to get 17 Republicans.
Meanwhile, one of Mr. Trump's impeachment lawyers, Bruce Castor, on Capitol Hill today after previewing part of his defense that a trial to remove a former president is unconstitutional.
The scenario that the Democrats want the American people to believe is that if Donald Trump was dead, they could still do this. And that's ridiculous.
All of it as President Biden met with Democratic senators about his $1.9 trillion COVID relief package. Republicans say the price tag is too high, but the president predicting bipartisan support.
I think we'll get some Republicans.
We pressed the White House. How concerned is he that the Senate trial will undercut his momentum?
I think the president has been clear there's an urgency to delivering relief to the American people, and we are confident they have the ability to walk and chew gum at the same time.
So, Kristen, the president is talking about winning over some Republicans. Where might he compromise?
One of the sticking points, those $1,400 direct payments to Americans. President Biden has said he's committed to that price tag, but open to the idea of better targeting those checks to Americans who really need them. Lester.
Kristen Welker, thanks. Also in Washington, that showdown over controversial Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. The freshman Republican set to learn her fate. Will she face disciplinary action for her inflammatory comments? Here's Peter Alexander.
Tonight, freshman Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene heading into a meeting where her Republican colleagues are set to decide her fate, just as Democrats are demanding Republicans punish her or they'll do it themselves. Greene under fire for past comments embracing false QAnon conspiracy theories and accused of endorsing violence against top Democrats.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is totally out of control as a QAnon caucus leader, sympathizer.
Democrats now preparing to take an unprecedented step against a member of the opposite party, holding a vote tomorrow to strip Greene of her committee assignments. Late today, the top House Republican Kevin McCarthy saying he condemns Greene's comments unequivocally, and that he said as much when they met Tuesday, telling Greene, "We have a responsibility to hold ourselves to a higher standard than how she presented herself as a private citizen." Also accusing Democrats of a partisan power grab. Earlier, Greene tweeted defiantly about her critics. "We owe them no apologies. We will never back down." Republicans also grappling with tensions over Liz Cheney's role in the party, currently the number 3 Republican in the House, who voted in favor of impeaching former President Trump, while the vast majority of her party opposed it.
Late tonight, we've learned inside that meeting, Liz Cheney told her fellow Republicans she is not going to apologize for supporting impeachment, and Kevin McCarthy defended her. Lester?
All right, Peter, thanks. Investigators are still trying to determine why a Black Hawk helicopter crashed last night in bad weather, killing 3 crew members from Idaho's Army National Guard. 2 weeks ago, another Black Hawk crashed in New York State, killing 3 Guard members. In 60 seconds, the price you pay, shortages and everything from car parts to paper towels, why it's still happening a year into this pandemic. We've been living with the pandemic for almost a year now, but there are still major shortages in everything from cars to frozen pizza. Here's Katie Beck with that.
Nearly a year into a pandemic, and supply chain issues are still grinding some products like cars to a halt, thanks to a shortage in available computer chips.
Automakers are prioritizing those vehicles in demand and those that make profits. Trucks, SUVs, CUVs, and electric vehicles.
As car parts of all kinds just sit on ocean waters outside L.A.
You know, we have a flotilla of ships off the coast of California right now due to coronavirus restrictions at the port.
A consumer food chain still feeling the pinch as well. With paper towels, baking soda, and frozen pizzas, some of the top grocery items running out of stores. While at restaurants, limited liquor has been a problem, as well as high costs for gloves and other basic operating supplies.
I mean, those types of supplies are hard to get now. To-go boxes, eco-friendly to-go boxes, straws, all of this stuff became extremely hard, and once again, paying a giant premium for them.
Even glass containers like the ones used by Chicago-based Rumi Spice have been proven hard to come by.
It's really challenging.
Producers working through a parts crunch as consumers pay the price. Katie Beck, NBC News.
52 years ago, two black American athletes raised fists in protest of racial inequality. Tonight, one man from that iconic image comes together with a sports star from the younger generation still carrying on the fight. Morgan Radford with our Black History Month series, Changemakers.
Calls for justice, more than a half century apart.
No justice! No peace!
At the front of the movement, not just activists, but athletes.
I wasn't concerned about being scared. I was more concerned about doing what I felt was the right thing to do.
This is Tommy Smith and John Carlos at the 1968 Olympics. Head down, fist held high. Black socks to bring attention to black poverty. Beads to protest lynchings.
What was happening in the country at that time?
Basically, it was civil unrest. And I think we were reckoning with ourselves in terms of saying enough is enough.
It was a protest that followed years of pain, from freedom rides to the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. just 6 months earlier. Now, more than 50 years later,
many of the issues that we speak out against directly affect us.
LA Sparks forward and WNBA Players Association President Nneka Ogwumike is leveraging her own star power in the fight for equal pay and equal justice.
Are you all surprised that you are essentially fighting the same fight for equality more than 50 years apart?
It's amazing that we are fighting the same issues today.
You know, so one could say, oh, there's black athletes, you know, there's black presidents, there's black coaches. But who's hiring these black athletes?
That's right.
Who's putting these people in these positions? If those people still don't reflect the society we see every day, then the job is not getting done.
A fight that's still being waged by two people generations apart.
Black athletes in particular have always been on the forefront of looking for justice and equality,
hoping to inspire generations to come. Morgan Radford, NBC News, New York.
The nominations are out for the 78th Golden Globe Awards. Netflix led the way in both film and TV, with Mank and The Crown each receiving 6 nods. The Globes air on NBC February 28th. Up next, the pioneering transplant that's inspiring America. Finally, tonight, I want to tell you about the historic transplant revealed today, giving a young man a whole new life. Kristen Dahlgren has tonight's Inspiring America.
For 22-year-old Joe DeMeo, it's more than a first-of-its-kind surgery. It's a second chance.
It really did give my life back. It's getting me back to working out and doing normal things now.
Joe was just 19 when a fiery car wreck burned 80% of his body. The injuries debilitating, until doctors at NYU Langone Medical Center decided Joe was the perfect candidate for something that had only been attempted twice before, never successfully. A face and double hand transplant, much more difficult than a single organ transplant because the amount of skin, in addition to muscle, bone, and nerves, makes it more prone to rejection. And Joe's immune system was so sensitive after all he had been through, he only had a 6% chance of finding a donor. Then last August, doctors found that needle in the haystack.
We found this perfect donor with the ideal matching profile. Not only the antibody profile, but the skin color match, the skeletal structure, the length of the arms.
In a 23-hour surgery, a massive team of doctors in 2 operating rooms gave Joe a new face, forearms, and hands. 5 months later, he's lifting weights, working on his golf swing, and inspiring.
There's always light at the end of the tunnel, and never give up. Always find a way to do things.
Doctors say Joe is the future of transplants for so many with devastating injuries. A wonder of science, now ready to face the world. Kristen Dahlgren, NBC News.
What an amazing spirit he has. That is Nightly News for this Wednesday. Thank you for watching, everyone. I'm Lester Holt. Please take care of yourself and each other. Good night. Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching.